Hey everybody, as of 3:35 this afternoon, it marks 20 weeks, 5 months since I said goodbye to Christine. And and I guess my current mood right now is I'm exhausted, and maybe I'll be able to explain that somehow. So 5 months, and to be honest with you, I am kind of surprised that I made it to 5 months. And I'm not talking about, dying or anything like that. I'm not. I'm talking about being somewhat rational, being somewhat in a place of stability that I'm actually in. I am a little bit surprised, actually, how well I'm doing on a lot of fronts. But 5 months is a strange marker for me in a lot of ways. I've been doing through this journey. I've been doing a lot of reading, a lot of studying about grief and how it affects people and how you deal with it and how you help other people deal with it. And that's been the focus of a lot of my videos. And so I've been reading recently about people who have gone through a loss like mine, of a spouse, particularly. The 5th to 6th to 7th month is actually some of the worst times, because it seems like the initial shock of losing your loved one is kind of over. And although it was extremely painful at that time, the rebound grief seems to be very potent and very I don't know. It's very hard. And so what I've found in all this is a struggle to maintain the pace that I set for myself. Almost immediately after Christine passed, I started getting busy with all the state of the affairs of the Cookingham house. All the things that needed to be done, and I would like to. I'm about 90% done, and I with paperwork. When someone passes away, man, there is a lot of paperwork. I know I've said that before, and I'm like 90% done. And I would have been a lot further with that if this quarantine thing hadn't hit, because there's some things I have to do in person, and you can't do that. So that is, but I would say 90% of that is done. And the pace that I set for myself, physically and mentally and spiritually and emotionally, was pretty intense. And I think my grief has caught up with my pace, or my pace has slowed down, or I'm not sure what it is. But I think it was about maybe 4 or 5 videos ago, I talked about hitting a wall. This is way different than hitting that wall. This is like the wall. I've hit the wall, and the wall is now hitting back, kind of a deal. So, and the grief is kind of taking on a different feeling. And I don't think I could really describe the feeling to you, except that it is painful, and it is centralized around around being lonely. And I mentioned that for the past couple of videos and a couple of online postings. I feel extremely lonely, even though I live with some wonderful peeps, and I have some wonderful friends, and I have a church family and all that, but it's extremely lonely here. Case in point, Sunday after we had parking lot church, which I think was a pretty huge success for us, along with doing it with the Hyde Park Baptist brothers and sisters. But I was kind of emotionally done. That was a lot for me. And so I tried to find some solitude, and since it was a beautiful day, almost every spot that I go to was filled with people. And when I ended up at Olana and on top of the mountain there, it was so crowded. There were people all around me, and I never felt so alone in a crowd before as I did on Sunday. Because most people were there with other people. And most people were there. There was, this the couples thing just was throwing me for a loop. Not young couples, couples that would have been my age, and Christine's age. So that was I just noticed I say so a lot, so please forgive that. It amazes me that grief takes you on different rides, and no two rides are the same, even though there's you would think that it might be. So there, I did it again. I got to break that habit. So coming on today, and trying to describe where I am today is it's kind of weird. Because I'm really not sure. I'm exhausted. I'm tired, emotionally tired, from just going through this gauntlet. I don't know of any Star Trek fans out there, but you'll understand this reference with the Klingon pain stick ritual. You'll understand that when they send you through a gauntlet of Klingons, basically a warrior race for those who are not fans of Star Trek, and they beat this guy with pain sticks as he tries to make it through the gauntlet standing up. That's kind of how it feels like, that I'm going through a gauntlet with pain sticks. However, I am also very thankful today that I have made it to 5 months. And although it's hard to imagine the next, 7 months to get to a year without Christine, I can't. It's hard to focus on that. It's hard to imagine that. But it also seems so surreal to be only 5 months out from Christine's death. And so much has changed. I've discovered things about myself that I almost wish I didn't discover. I discovered how selfish I am. And I thought I was a pretty humble guy. I am being humbled in places that I didn't know I had. And I count it as good and kind of God to do so. But man, am I being humbled right now? And I have to find a different pace, because the pace that I have been on for the past 5 months is no longer working for me. That I discovered. It was a good pace for the first leg of this journey. It is not the pace that's going to get me to the next. I'm not sure what that pace is yet. A lot has to do with, some decisions that still have to be made personally, some personal decisions. I just want to let you know that every day I choose life, every day, because the moment I wake up, I think about my loss. I can't escape it, and I wrestle with it. But I choose life every day. Every day I choose life. Every day I choose God. Every day I choose to be His son. Every day I choose to believe He is good. Despite what I might be feeling at that moment, whatever current mood that I might be experiencing, I choose my Father. Now, sometimes Father and I have words, but, I think that's okay. God's pretty big. So I'm down by the river again, and I was here early this morning, and I wanted to come down here before 3:35, and I made it. I made it exactly at 3:35 and looking at this beautiful Hudson River, and the sun came out, and it's beautiful, and beauty, like I've said before, is very healing for me. But today it's not really working. I don't really feel healed at all today by it. I'm enjoying it. I mean, it's you can't. Well, goodness gracious, you can't miss the beauty here. But that's what I mean. My pace is off. I'm tired. I'm exhausted from having my emotional state in an upheaval. Even though people that see me wouldn't know. And am I rambling now? I might be rambling. Let me backtrack a little bit. I know last week was a little bit more instructive when we talked about things not to say to people who are going through grief, and a lot of people got back to me and said that was really informative, and I'm glad, and hopefully we can all put those things into practice because they're important to do so. And this week is not really. I'm just kind of rambling online, and I'm sorry about that. I'm not sure what the real point is, just to kind of give a state of affairs of how I'm doing, because I just think it's important. It is, another first coming up pretty soon. Another one of those awful firsts. It'll be Becky's birthday is this month, and it'll be her first birthday without her mom. That's going to be difficult. Our anniversary, wedding anniversary, is in June, and Christine's birthday is in June. I'm not really looking forward to those days. Sorry. So what's the takeaway of today? I really don't know, except that I just wanted to get online just to kind of let people know where I am, and give a small report of how I'm doing. I am dealing with this as the best I can. I am trying to move forward every day, and I think I do in one way or another. I move forward. It may be a really, really small step, and some days maybe more steps, but I am moving forward still. There has been no retreat in me, but I am tired today and exhausted. And I did discover something, and I don't know if I mentioned this. This is kind of one of the things when at the beginning of this lesson, I discovered something. I was discovering things about myself, and that how sometimes grief can make you, and I knew this, but grief can make you make poor decisions, rash decisions. And I made one at the beginning of this journey without Christine. My kids were urging me to go away, and go away for quite some time, for a month or so. And because I felt like I was needed at home and needed at church, I didn't do that. And the time that I did sit away was, around my birthday. Didn't happen because of the quarantine and stuff like that. It was a mistake for me not to go away. That was true. And I might have mentioned that before, that it was a mistake not to go away. But my point is that it is important to, when you're dealing with people who are going through grief, is to really pray for their decision making and for their discernment, because it is not clear. I have to really, really focus in on what God is saying, even more than I have in the past, because of this. Because I have to. Everything kind of gets filtered through this grief. Everything gets filtered through sorrow. Everything gets filtered through the loss, and so it can get really messy. It can be really messy up here, and decision making is crucial during this time. It's so crucial because so many things have to get done on a practical level, on a spiritual level, on an emotional level, on a relational level. And it just is hard to make decisions without really focusing in on what you got to figure out. And so that was a big mistake of mine, and I think it kind of impeded some of my healing process on some ways, and made me pick up the pace at the beginning of this, a pace that I couldn't sustain. And I think that is, I'm kind of feeling the effects of that pace. Now, I'm not blaming anybody. I'm not even blaming myself on that. I'm just saying if you're seeing someone going through this, just really pray for their discernment, pray for their decision making. If you can, come alongside of them and help them think out loud. And that, again, that involves really listening, but help them think of live, help them to think about some pros and cons and all those kind of things, just to help them come to the decision that they need to. And I kind of wish someone had done that for me. And again, I'm not blaming anyone for not doing it. I didn't even know I needed it. And that's the problem. When you're kind of lost in this grief bog, you don't really know what you need. You usually know what you don't need, but you don't know what you need. And so that's a point I kind of wanted to bring up at the beginning of this. So hopefully that makes sense. Just to really pray for people who are going through the grief process, for their decision making, because it is kind of difficult. So, all right, I think I've wasted enough of your time today. I just wanted to come on and just give you, like I said, an update where I am, just that little insight into helping people process their grief by helping them and praying for them for their decision making. Because although I think I made a lot of good decisions, that one about not going away, I wish I made that one differently today. I wish I made that one differently, because I could tell the effects of that decision are affecting me today, or the results of that decision. And so now I have to figure out a new pace. So you can pray for that. You can pray that I figure out my new pace, whatever that looks like, and especially coming out of this this quarantine, we might be getting closer to that, and that's going to change my parameters on a multiple layers of stuff. So, and for all of us too. So, thanks for listening again. I really appreciate it. Any feedback, any questions you might have, please, direct message me or send me an email or call me, and I'd be glad to talk about it further. Remember this, I know God is good. God is always good. Losing my wife was not good, but God is good. And I know He loves me, and I know He loves you. And I will always, 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 always choose Him, because He is good, and He's faithful, and He's kind, and He's merciful. And I trust Him with my life. And just like what Job said, though He slay me, I will follow Him. I will worship Him. I will serve Him. I will give Him. Job's attitude towards this was just precious. And to losing everything, that no matter what happened, he was still going to serve God. And that's, there are days I don't want to, but I know that I must serve this wonderful Lord of ours. All right? Enough preaching. I love you. God loves you more. Bye for now.